Welcome to the Rant, everybody. Tulsa World columnist Bill Hastings getting a drink of water.
Two shows in a row. I'm hitting the water bottle.
How about that?
I need to quit that.
It's debut week, and look at that. We have Jacob Toby joining us. Look at this guy going with the T-shirt.
It's more casual look
cool,
today,
man.
And going forward, this will be a more casual look. So.
Yeah. All right. So this is a little
too.
change. This is year 6 of the Rant, brought to you by Jack Yassee Ford.
Yep.
Fantastic sponsor. We love you guys. Jacob's going to kind of keep us in line. You know what I mean? Keep us on time. Pepper us with questions.
Especially you,
A lot
Caden.
of fun.
Especially you, Caden.
Now, Thursday night, we had some great stuff to talk about because OU opened against Houston and OSU opened against Oregon State. Tulsa played Michigan State. The game's not quite as good this time around. Jacob?
No, not good at all.
What's up, man?
But can we please start with the best thing you saw in college football? And I know Bills is the NFL, but we'll start with college football. Caden, best thing you saw 20 seconds ago.
How about the LSU Tigers going into Austin and getting a win? And it's not that. It's this statistic. 30 completed passes with 4 touchdown passes for the second game in a row. You know how many times that had happened for LSU prior to this season and those two games?
Ever?
It had not happened in the previous 18 seasons. From 2000 to 2018, not a single game with 30 completed passes and 4 touchdowns. They've done it twice this season. I don't even recognize these Tigers.
That's a national game changer. LSU completing forward passes. That changes that.
I know we're supposed to do this quickly, but here is the absolute doomsday scenario,
Sorry,
Jacob Toby. Hey, listen to this. LSU has just beat Texas. Imagine Texas wins the Big 12. Georgia will beat Notre Dame in a couple weeks. Imagine Notre Dame beats a Michigan team that goes on to win the Big 10. We know the Pac-12 is going to implode. Washington's already got a loss. You could have 3 SEC teams in the playoff. It is seriously possible if LSU, Georgia, Alabama all have 1 loss or less. You could have those 3 with Clemson. It's just a Southeastern United States championship.
Bill,
OU can make sure that doesn't happen.
You know what?
That is doomsday.
If I really think about that right now, my head will explode. So let's talk about the
best thing you saw.
Best thing you saw, Bill.
Well, you're right about LSU. If they've got a passing game, look out. Look out, Alabama, too. You better look out.
Texas hung in there, by the way. But you're right.
Texas
LSU can throw it, yikes.
Just the most jaw-dropping performance I saw this weekend, Jacob.
That guy.
Huh?
Hollywood Brown right there.
Oh, yeah. The Ravens. The first score update I saw on that game, I said, you got to be kidding me. And then I went into the box score and saw, at that time, the numbers were off the charts. And when the game ended, they were off the charts. Lamar Jackson, 17 of 20 passing, 5 touchdowns. Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews, 2 former Sooners, combined 12 catches, 250 yards, and
wild.
3 touchdowns. Jacob, if Lamar Jackson can sustain anything close to that level of efficiency, they're a game changer in the NFL. The Ravens are.
Marquise and Mark making up for Baker Mayfield.
Holy cow, talk about stretching the field. Look at this.
Yep.
Yeah,
We've seen plenty of it.
Oh, no doubt.
Twitter was lit today, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Let's go back to college football. What are we doing playing FCS games? 70 points put up by the Sooners, and then OSU just goes and demolishes.
What are we even doing?
What are we doing? Tell me.
Bill, what do you think? FCS. Okay, Oklahoma State has done this periodically through the years. OU has no business playing these guys. They simply do not. Bill.
Right.
2 teams in college football have never scheduled an FCS team, UCLA and Notre Dame. Hats off to you. OU is too big to be bringing in South Dakota. And I know South Dakota's had success at that level, but we don't need people paying hard-earned money to watch this.
Well, predictably, you don't get a clean, intense, focused performance. Rarely it's garbage football. I mean, typically it's garbage football. Rarely do you get a really well-played game. I mean, and it's super rarely that you get an upset. But I don't see it being legislated out, FBS versus FCS. I don't think it'll ever be legislated out altogether, Caden, because the FCS programs need that money.
Yes.
They need those big
right.
paychecks, and I think the NCAA would always keep that at the front of considerations if that ever came up as a discussion point.
It does make the budget for some of these programs, so that's a nice counterpoint. How about this as a concession? You don't get to keep the stats from these games. If Barry Sanders' 268 yards in the Holiday Bowl against Wyoming doesn't get to count, this stuff shouldn't count.
It's a lot of stat padding, but
you also, I don't even think you should get the win, to be honest. Like the S&P doesn't count those. OU should just be 11-0 at the end of the year if they go undefeated instead of 12-0.
Well, I don't think it's important that Jalen Hurts gets a specific stat line against South Dakota. I do think it's fascinating and unbelievably encouraging and impressive for OU that he seems to have such a command of the offense
Well, that
already.
leads to our next question.
I mean, that
Boys.
is crazy. His 83% so far, Jacob.
That's pretty good. What do we learn, though, from – can we learn anything from these games? Bill, we were talking about it off camera. Can we learn anything from this?
What'd you take from OU's performance?
Exactly that Hurts seems to have such a command of it, and that he's got so many weapons. And it's a validation. I mean, if we're talking specifically last night, it's certainly a validation that this recruiting class was just hellaciously good, just tremendous.
Good point.
When you have garbage time guys like Spencer Rattler throwing to Bridges for a touchdown, Hazelwood scored. The other kid whose name escapes me, the other freshman, good grief. Oh, Theo Weiss scored.
Weiss.
I mean, I mean
They
that
all looked the part.
that's what I came out of it with. It was fun to watch those guys get a little run. Mordecai was fine.
Yeah. They might be able to win the Big 12 with Mordecai or Rattler.
No, I made a note of that when I was on the
Possible.
treadmill today. That this team with Rattler at quarterback and those freshmen as the main targets with Stogner would win 9 games. They would win 9 games.
I just want to say –
seriously, maybe more than that, Bill.
Maybe.
Let me just say something real quick. I think there's audio issues on Facebook, so if you go to the KJRH website, I believe that's where you're going to find the audio. Just wanted to say that real quick.
There you go.
Caden.
Thank you, Jacob. What did I learn from OU's performance yesterday? Like 3 turnovers forced is better than none or 1 or 2. So, look, it's not a big deal, but 3 turnovers is better than not having 3 turnovers. And the backup quarterbacks, just like you mentioned, Tanner Mordecai, Spencer Rattler, look like smooth operators. And what you said is exactly right. Those freshman wide receivers, there's some really good stuff going on with regard to kind of the new wave that's coming in. Look, 70-14 against a program that has won games and pushed FBS teams much more than this in the past.
Sure.
They came out, they did what they were supposed to do. You know.
How many? I mean, 2 games. 15 different Sooners have caught at least 1 pass. 15. That's a lot of targets.
Score touchdowns
That's
yesterday?
a lot of
10
targets.
different guys?
Oh yeah, that's hard
stuff.
that's hard to do.
Yeah.
Actually.
Love that. Did we learn anything from OSU beating McNeese State 56-14?
That Spencer Sanders really does seem, Jacob, to have a real firm hold on that starting job.
Yes.
And it doesn't seem like it doesn't look anything like an audition. It's his gig, and as it should be. And Drew Brown came in and functioned in a fine way. So you got the security of knowing that, or believing that he could run the offense if need be. But I think it's Spencer Sanders' team.
I was a little troubled by the first quarter the offensive line and just the way the whole thing worked. I don't expect to see that at 11th and Harvard next week, but I'll say that if there are some of those fits and starts, the TU defense is certainly good enough that they would not only make this thing a game into the second quarter, but probably beyond. Look, Tylan Wallace, pick your poison is what it comes down to. In week 1, Oregon State was not going to let him beat them. He still had a pretty nice game, but they were going to double a lot. McNeese went about it a different way, and so they were able to have some success early against Hubbard and Spencer in the running game, and Wallace just ate him alive. So there is I guess, I don't know that I learned this, but it just reaffirmed that there's a real pick-your-poison element to this Oklahoma State offense.
Isn't Wallace unique, though, in that he can, like last night, catch a 2-yard pass and take it to the house? Or he can just...
Didn't you think maybe you've never seen that level of speed from him as he went down the sideline?
Impressive.
I mean, is this guy getting better? Like, I've compared him to Steve Smith Jr. As potentially an NFL guy.
Right.
He does everything. He is a very complete receiver.
Great
and really
route
just
runner.
a joy to watch. He mosses people every single week. We saw it there on the highlight just before this.
And of all of the elite receivers at Oklahoma State in the Gundy era, he's the shortest. He is the shortest. He's a tiny bit.
Feet, I
think he's a tiny bit shorter, Jacob, than James Washington. Okay. So, but he's an unbelievable guy. 10 catches through 2 games, 5 touchdowns. And you saw the little after the catch yesterday on I think the second touchdown right there. This player here, no indecision whatsoever.
No.
No dancing.
He knows what he's
Turn
doing.
and go.
Really smart football player.
No, he is. He's got amazing hands, great route runner, and
Look, he is a great player. This is not a complete team, and taking what Mike Gundy said at face value against Oregon State, we maybe overrated the offensive line a little bit. I mean, some of the things I saw yesterday, look, they're a good offensive line. You probably can't put them in the great category, but he is undeniably a great wide receiver. Chuba Hubbard could be a great running back.
Right.
Undeniably, without a doubt, right now we know Tylan Wallace is going to give you great performances week in and week out, and that's a great place to start.
no doubt.
Yeah.
I don't, like I say, I don't know how you can really have really grand takeaways out of these two garbage games.
Nope. Really, what did we learn?
Nada.
Well, we learned some stuff, but I
picked
mean,
up a couple things.
but it's stuff that'll be forgotten by midweek, and let's get on to more relevant football.
Yes.
Yeah, more relevant football. I think we did learn some stuff from the Golden Hurricane over the weekend, beating San Jose State. Your biggest takeaway, guys, from that win out in California?
Bill, take that first.
Oh, I mean, I think everybody over there is relieved, super relieved that the passing game functioned in a decent
absolutely.
way. That Sam,
More than decent.
That Sam Crawford, who's, like a lot of people
think
before
the
last
most
night were
complete- I
like,
think
who's Sam Crawford?
Who is that?
Yeah, well, he's
In
9
some ways,
catches.
the most reliable complete receiver. I know, Keelan will have something to say about that, but I really liked what I saw from Crawford.
Well, I mean, and then
I mean, how about
to get to over 200 yards though from the tailback, hopefully Corey
Yeah,
Tate.
Wilkerson. Who's TK Wilkerson?
T.K. Wilkerson.
Well, we know who he is.
You know what though?
Sky took it.
I think if he had played at Union or Jinx in high school, and maybe instead of Sky took,
by a lot of people, sure.
yeah, he's a big running back.
Yeah. he is.
Look, they were negative 73 yards or whatever it was against Michigan State running
exactly
the
what it
football,
was.
and I really you can throw that out because that was bad snaps and everything. But the two running backs, Taylor and Brooks, ran it 13 times for negative 1 yard, and we knew Michigan State might have the best defensive front in the entire country, so you could kind of just throw that performance out. But you needed to see something good against San Jose State, and to come out and run the ball over and over and over and over again, and score on your first two drives doing it. That was good. That with a young offensive line, that was a statement delivered.
Oh, yeah.
And then for Taylor to go out, Wilkerson to come in, there was another statement delivered.
Yeah.
That there's more than just those two backs at the top. You got a third guy who's really, really good. And what you said about Zach Smith, to me, it might be the biggest thing, other than the overall energy and intensity and attention to detail that this team brought in a game that they absolutely could not afford to lose. I mean, that's kind of the number one takeaway for me. But what Zach Smith was able to do, let's say that's 1B to the 1A of the intensity and everything. In big moments, he was able to hit big throws. That touchdown pass to Denzel Carter. Like, when you have a tight end that big and you have Zach Smith's arm, some of that stuff is like not defensible. I mean, that's a game changer for this team offensively. They're just at the start of it. It's going to be tough to be hitting at peak efficiency this weekend against Oklahoma State when, the offense will probably have to be great.
Right.
But that was a really fine performance from the TU offense, and we have not seen very many of them. And how about this stat? I believe it was 1 win in 17 games against FBS competition before last year's win at UConn, or against UConn.
Right.
They're now 3-3 in their last 6. Like, I feel like maybe they've turned a corner.
Right. Well, I don't know. I mean, starting with the 17 season through 18, and then certainly last week at Michigan State. I mean, this is about as bad as the TU passing game has ever been. So to have what they had last night,
Good point.
that resulted
Take it for granted.
that resulted in beautiful balance, run-pass balance. There you go, right there.
Yeah.
Look at this man. That's a big man.
It is. And, another thing, we got a chance to see some practices and scrimmages through the spring and August. And the passing game didn't look this good for me. And I think a big part of that was TU's defense is just really formidable. And TU's defense put them through it in the spring and August. And I think that this offense showed last night they're better for it.
I'm with you.
They were pushed and challenged by those guys. They've come out the other side, and you're seeing a passing game that look, it's not something that you can just take to the bank right now. But what we saw last night was, that's a glimmer. Like, potentially 6 wins in a bowl game, like you feel much, much better about it having watched last night.
Yeah, because you got to get one before you can get 2 or 3 or 6.
Yeah.
But you know what? The one thing I'm sure of, they'll have a really good week of practice, and they'll be twice as energized with resolve about what they're doing over there in practice, then they would have been at 0-2.
Before we get to the high school stuff,
Yeah.
just a couple of things with regard to this Oklahoma State-Tulsa matchup we got coming Saturday. I know you haven't probably wrapped your brain around
Not
it
really.
fully, but just a couple of things off the top. Let's say from Tulsa's perspective, what needs to happen to keep these guys in the game?
Oh my Lord! You better not give OSU short fields, and you better take care of the football, and don't give OSU easy, cheap field position. Make them earn what they get. But ultimately, holy cow, you miss a tackle against OSU, it's probably a touchdown.
That's a fact. Yeah.
Yeah.
TU's defense has only given up 3 touchdowns this year, but Michigan State and San Jose State ain't OSU.
No, they don't.
I mean, that defense is going to have to be on point. And then against an OSU front 7 that to me is really pretty suspect, you got to have some success running the ball really early and often to stay in this. You got to chew up a bunch of clock. You got to keep it out of OSU's hands as one of the early.
That's right. But before anything else, you can't have bad snaps. You can't have turnovers.
Yeah,
Can't
no, that's a
happen.
good point.
Let's talk some high school football before we get back to the Patriots and Steelers. My Patriots are up 20-0,
What a
by the way.
shocking weekend.
57 points put up on Jenks.
This is the
Shocking.
thing
By
everybody
Bixby?
asked me about at church today.
Come on, man.
You know, even if Jinx had scored 50 in that game, Jacob, and lost 57-50, that would have been shocking.
Yes.
But it was 43-0 at the break.
Can
57-7 at game's end. Couldn't believe it.
Can Bixby beat anyone in 6A1? Everybody? Can they do it?
No, I think I'm all over it. I'm all over Caden's. I think you're supposed to be talking now, but I will say this. I think there is a coin toss of a chance that Bixby is the best team in the state, regardless of.
Wow.
How could you fuss with that?
They're really.
They're averaging 67
good.
points a game against the Texas team and Jinx.
I had some conversations on Twitter after the highlights were posted on Friday night. Brennan Presley and his brother Braylon, I believe, is like when Mike Gundy offers a local kid a scholarship, I just assume he's going to be a multiple-year starter at Oklahoma State. And there's a decent chance he's going to be able to draw an NFL paycheck or two at some point.
Like C.J.
And-
Moore, you mean?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, there you
Brennan
go.
Presley is that dude for me. Bill, Bixby has had exceptional line play, offensive line play for certain, for several years now. Defensively, they've been getting better and better. You put this kid's athletic ability, his sister's what, an SEC champion, national champion at track. I mean, this family's
His
got
older
the genes.
sister.
You put this kid out there with exceptional line play and some of the things they can do, and a quarterback, a very fine quarterback. Our Friday Night Live Player of the Week, Mason Williams, last week.
There you go.
You might be right. Now, I would still give Broken Arrow the edge. I would still
well,
give
now that I'm
Owasso
sitting
the
here
edge.
watching Broken Arrow highlights, I'm like, yeah, they're pretty good. And they are. They're just they really dominated Union
When
physically.
you go
the
into
other night.
Jenks and score 57, that is unreal. And we knew Jenks lost a lot. I mean, remember, these guys played for the state title and played to the final seconds for that thing last year. For Bixby to do what they did is amazing. And so now we have the 2 huge matchups this week. Jenks Union, which I hate to say takes a back seat, but Bill, the game of the week has to be
It is.
number 1 versus number 2, Broken Arrow and Owasso.
It is. I mean, do they go head up? Are they both Friday games?
Both Friday.
Uh,
Don't you wish they could change that? I've had this conversation with
I wish they would stack them
Several people.
and start at like a 5 o'clock doubleheader.
Now there you go. There's an idea.
And then just switch out the sponsor brands.
Nice.
Because there are sponsor brands.
That's right.
Looking at my watch, I think it's time to go watch some second half football in the NFL.
sir.
We'll be back. Sorry about the audio issues. Hopefully on KJRH.com you saw those. Saw everything you needed to see. Next week, the Rant will be back. See ya.